But I wanted to pick up on this point about relevance and ask you, Chris, the point that Mr. Costopoulos made about that being the challenge, really, that it has been historically the challenge, is the challenge still today under a new administration. How does this region, these small, relatively small countries, in the thick of, quite important, in a very important strategic region and in the thick of, a lot of geopolitical challenges, how do they stay relevant? And how should they be approaching the US administration? How do they make sure that they are on the radar of President Trump and getting his attention? Is it a case of what Cyprus and Greece and Israel can offer to the US, not what you can do for us, but what we can do for you? Is that the right approach? So I just wanted to get a sense from you, really, of how you see it. Is it realistic to think that this region is going to be high on the agenda, or at least on the agenda? Is it realistic to think that the current administration could step up its involvement, engagement in the region, given everything else on the president's agenda?
Great question. I think the way you brought it up in terms of relevance is what each gentleman said within the podium, or what they said. Everything of what was discussed is relevant. Every single one of them talked about a business opportunity, and we know that this president focuses on how to get business done. And we've seen over the last week, we've had a UK trade deal. We've over the last 3 days have had a $600 billion agreement being signed in Saudi Arabia, a $1.2 trillion agreement being signed in Qatar, and today a $1.4 trillion agreement being signed with Emiratis. Now, when you equate that to Greece, Cyprus, and Israel, let's just talk about Greece. It may not have the biggest GDP compared to Saudi or Emirati friends, but Greece has several other things to offer, including its geography. But let's not just overlook the business perspective. Greece does $2.8 billion a year in commerce with the United States. The U.S. purchases $2.8 billion. Greece purchases $2.3 billion in U.S. trade. There's a very small difference there. I think the biggest opportunity moving forward with this president is focusing on the many opportunities that each one of these guys have said, and not only what, but also how we communicate it. I think in the past, diplomacy has been in the midst of trading missiles, and I think we have a president now that's proven time and time again that he's here to end wars and start new conversations and play offense. We're at a time where we can use foreign policy to play offense. Greece is strategically located. Israel's strategically located. So is Cyprus. And we have several things. I know Mr. Ladagakis is here from Mahi, who's supporting some great bills, a 3+1 arrangement, which we all know of. Which has a great opportunity to be passed and successful. We have ONYX. ONYX is probably one of the biggest opportunities we have in foreign policy in modern history that will truly change the game. So, we have $3 billion in trade between our two countries. Why don't we make that 6 or 9 or 10 and have a 10 or 15-year vision like our friends in Cyprus do? Where they lay out a foundation of economics, just like Mr. Costopoulos said. There are significant deals happening in Greece and set to happen over the next 4 years. I can name an energy project that was announced about a month ago on top of Thessaloniki. It's an $8 billion data center. It's the largest data center in all of Europe. Greece has some of the largest buyers of LNG in all of Europe. If we transition that to U.S. LNG, we can overnight take that $2.8 billion in trade and make it $6 billion. I think in terms of relevance, if we equate and come forward with a business proposition to this president, he'll take it seriously, and he has. The Minister of Finance in Greece, Kyriakos Kyriakakis, met with Secretary Bessent 3 weeks ago in Washington. From my understanding, it was a very, very productive conversation, and that's happening with our secretary ministers, with energy, with commerce, and it's going to continue between President Trump and Kyriakos Mitsotakis. So I think it's a very positive, we have an extremely positive outlook. I think we have a once in a lifetime opportunity where we aren't focusing on 80 years or 150 years of issues, and we can actually say, where can we play offense? How can we focus on the issues that we've had in the past, but also make a game-changing time decision in how we communicate to the U.S., how we do business with the U.S. One thing that that our friends in Turkey have done very well is that they've been able to transact with the United States over many decades, and they have defense manufacturing, they have agriculture manufacturing, they have service manufacturing, they do business with the United States in several industries. That's something that you can't just unwind overnight. And that's a problem because they're a NATO ally, and I don't think they're the most reliable NATO ally. I think the most reliable NATO ally is Greece. You cannot discount the approach that this president has. It's time to play offense. It's time to change the game. And every single person on this stage brought forward really one thing to focus on, which is economic opportunity. And now's our time. Now's our time to communicate this, and now's our time to change the next 40 or 50-year relationship that we have with the United States. So thank you. I think it's a great question, and I think there's a lot to work on there.
Well, thanks very much for that answer, which is very useful. I mean, it is the case that small countries, such as these, can punch above their weight. One of our friends who's spoken at our conferences, Armen Sarkisian, former president of Armenia, wrote this book, The Small States Club, where he had case studies of small countries that have done precisely that. And you know, these are countries that are already in some ways punching above their weight. They're spending on defense, they are contributing, as they should be, as NATO members, and in the energy sector, probably starting to punch above. And there's a lot to offer there. But to come back to you, because you raised this question, Mr. Costopoulos, in the first place, you know, does this pose a kind of dilemma for countries in Europe now? You said, actually, you know, we should be buying more from the US. Well, actually, that started to happen in terms of, to a small degree, in terms of arms defense. But is there a tension there, a kind of a tension between EU and US, or do you not see it in that way?
I think the tension is there. I don't see. I'm a profoundly strong believer on transatlantic affairs, and I think that one way or the other, just like every affair, it has to evolve. Transatlantic affairs have reached the point that they have to rediscover themselves. That doesn't mean that we go beyond them. That doesn't mean that we forget the power that exists between the United States and Europe, and the bonds that unite these two huge markets, these huge groups of countries, if you like. I don't believe that there is a dilemma, frankly. And to me, as a businessman, I don't see dilemmas. I see obstacles, I see challenges, I see crises. But I also see friends, allies, associates, colleagues. And if you combine all those elements in a constellation, you can build solutions. You can overcome those challenges. You can seize opportunities. you can transform shortly, softly, somehow, anyway, the crisis. To me, the biggest problem is over-discussing things, over-analyzing things, the inertia that, unfortunately, we entrap ourselves sometimes. It's a period, just like Christos said, it's a period that dictates, demands to become more agile, to become quicker, to change the narrative, to play, you said, offense. I agree. I mean, if we don't do it, someone else will. So I'm sure somewhere in another conference, perhaps of The Economist, there is a gentleman or a lady representing the, I don't know, the French Chamber of Commerce, that they will be challenging those issues from their own perspective. And this is good. This is what we do in business. We compete. We are marathon athletes. But I do believe that given the discussion that we had, given the things that the two gentlemen from their presentations, what reflected and what Christos said and what actually we have been saying all those 4 or 5 times, it's that the opportunity that we have in front of us and the depth of the relationship that exists between the United States and Greece, between the United States and Israel, and the last years between the United States and Cyprus is such that we can actually overcome challenges, we can actually shape the narrative in a way that we can, I think we can have a decent share of that growth that we all seek. Just like Christos said, and just like many of your esteemed President Trump, at the end of the day, wants a strong U.S. economy. And as business people, we know that unless we find a mutually beneficial relationship, a mutual beneficial angle in whatever we want to achieve, we can never achieve it. So to me, what we have to find a way is that narrative of making America stronger and safer and more prosperous, to see how through our own perspective, with the collaborations that we can bring to the table, how can contribute to that narrative, how can contribute to that mission, that vision that the new administration has. And if we do it, we'll be successful. And we will build the next cycle of US Greece, US Cyprus, US Israel, Eastern Mediterranean, wherever you want to position it, strategic relations.
Great, thank you very much. So Spyros, how is Cyprus going to play offense? I guess that's the question. In this coming period, you set out the stall for Cyprus very well, what it has to offer, strengths as an investment destination. It's the role it's assuming as a regional hub, Greece too. So on what we've just heard, what's the way to go forward?
Thank you, Joanne. The recent years and following 3-4 years, I would say, we have been on a clear path of growth and transformation. And of course, this was not accidental, as I said earlier, because the relationship we've developed with our allies, Greece, Israel, and the US, has played a very, very important role into that. We've managed as a country to take advantage of our location, because that is the most important and has been the most important asset that we have as Cyprus. And we've naturally positioned ourselves as a regional hub between Israel, the European Union, the US. The close proximity of Cyprus to the MENA region, as well as being member of the European Union, offers access and gives access to investors across the globe to a huge market of 450 million people. And investors that want to invest in Cyprus and use Cyprus as a regional hub have this opportunity and this great, let's say, benefit. In addition, I would say that with the support, as I mentioned earlier, of our allies, we are in a proud position to see that Cyprus has a very, very positive economic outlook. And this enables us as well as Invest Cyprus in our mission to promote Cyprus to attract investments, enables us to go out and speak freely and attract investments. One of the best, highest GDP growth in the European Union, 3.4%, as well as continuous upgrades from all the rating agencies to investment grade A. All this together makes Cyprus a very attractive destination. And along, of course, with the transparent procedures, our legal system that is common law, as well as the modern infrastructure that we have to offer. And a game changer as well in this process was the fact that we've introduced new migration policies. And these migration policies enable companies to bring big numbers of employees to Cyprus, 200, 300 immediately. And this led to many companies coming to Cyprus and to have a success in their relocation. And of course, for us as Invest Cyprus, that is a big success as well. So all this together, and our aim is to use these tools that we have in order to attract more investors and to promote Cyprus to the US, as we did recently, that our president was there. Huge interest from American companies to come to Cyprus. We have these relationships with American companies since the 1950s, with NCR that came to Cyprus to relocate and have their regional offices. And something else that I want to
Very
add,
briefly, because
yes, of course. Something else that I want to add is something that our president of SciSec mentioned earlier, and I will finish with that. When our president was in the US recently, he got many inquiries. He was asked from quite a few companies in the Silicon Valley specifically about Sandbox. Cyprus offers this unique advantage to these companies that they want to test new innovation, new technology in a controlled environment within the European Union, and with the guidance, of course, of the regulators to scale up and to have an opening to the European Union and bigger markets. So all this together that I mentioned, all these benefits, and as Zacharias actually numbered all of them earlier, make Cyprus a very, very attractive investment destination.
Thank you, Spyros. Yeah, we do have to finish, but Alexandros just wanted to give you a final word. Obviously, in a way, you're in the same business as previous business as President Trump, the real estate business, which obviously in Greece is booming. Tourism and real estate go together, obviously, and have been through this incredible boom in recent years. Lots of opportunities there, I think, in that sector. And we can see that in the region, there's a lot of Israeli investment now in Greece, in the real estate and tourism sector. What's the message then for US investors? Is this going to continue, this boom? And what's the offering there for the US?
Well, I think there's huge opportunity because here we experience a shift in terms of how the US exports soft power. This used to be on the hands of diplomacy. I think right now it's on the hands of the private sector. So the private sector can be more incentivized because there's profit, it's profit driven. And wherever there's opportunity and opportunity for yield, there might also be an opportunity for soft power production and export. So it's not only for profit, but it's also a way to reestablish our relationships through a protagonist role for the private sector. And I think what Christos said is very significant in terms of that.
Great. Thank you for bearing with us. I know we've run into the lunch a bit, but please join me in thanking all our speakers for a great session. Just a little bit of housekeeping. We've got a lunch now, which you'll be directed to the room where it's taking place. We'll be reconvening at 14:50, where we're looking at geopolitical fronts and American foreign policy and security. And we have Ryan Spyros, Haris Georgiadis, and John Zitilides on that panel. So make sure you're back in the room at 2:50, please. Thanks, all of you. Let's have a photograph.